From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. We are joined in studio by the great Steve Atwater. What up, At?
What up, R. Edwards? Benjamin Allbright.
Wanted to check in with you. Of course, the Broncos now at 3-6 on the season. Kind of a tough spot, right? Because we could look at this thing and say, well, all these one-score games, if they averaged 18 points in regulation, they'd be an 8-1 team. Now, if you are a player in that locker room right now, and you're thinking about where this team is at currently, where they're headed for the remainder of this season, are you a glass half full guy saying we're really close, or are you saying, hey, we just have not had a chance to close out games? Are you more of a glass half empty guy?
I think most players are a glass half full guy, where you feel like, we certainly should have won those games. We just got to continue to work and grind, because if you take the other side of that and you start going down the other road, then you make it for a super long season. It's gonna be the same amount of time, but it's gonna seem like it's so much longer if you just look at it from the negative point of view. So I never did. I think most players don't do that.
But it would be tough, I think, and Ben, you can chime in on this too, but it'd be tough if you're especially a player on the defensive side of the ball. You're the number one scoring defense in the league, and you're doing that without any help right now whatsoever from the offense. So the fact that you're that team and you're putting up those kinds of numbers, it does feel like this is a bit of a tipping point here for the season for the entire locker room.
Yeah, if you're that defense, you heard all training camp, all offseason about this offense and Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, and you got, wait a minute, well, we've been the defense, we've been here, and then you come out and you put up what you put up. Yeah, there's got to be a disappointment in your teammates, but part of being a good teammate is trying to pick those guys up. It's not trashing them in public, saying, hey, if these guys could just somehow find a way to scrape together 18 points, we could carry them the rest of the way. You don't get, you could get in public and do that, but is that really going to be beneficial? I think at this point, you just got to be a good teammate. But look, here's what we can do to help. How can we help you in practice? What can we do to help you guys figure things out in practice? Because if you can cover 18, we can start winning. We win out. Hey, who knows? So I know that's not statistically likely.
What do you think they can do? What can the defense do to help the offense?
I don't know the answer to that. That's what I'm saying. But that's the attitude I feel like I'd have to approach. If I were playing defense, that's the attitude I would approach it with. I mean, yeah, I could sell Ryan out and be like, hey, you bum, you only put up 10 points against the Titans with a bye week to prep for. You had 2 weeks to prep for the Titans, and you only put up 10 points. What's wrong with you?
This feels very personal to me.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm mad at him for the fantasy football. Yeah, you bum, you trash.
You start straight after that.
It's just daggers
into my soul.
I mean, you could have that attitude if you want, but does that solve anything? Is that going to make them better?
Right.
I mean, they know. Every offensive player out there knows.
I guarantee you, there's somebody in the locker room who feels like that. But they may not say anything. They may say, we don't know. We're not in the locker room. We don't know. Mm-hmm. But I would imagine that with the leaders that we have on the team, that voice is muted, though.
Right.
It's not, it's not able to take over the locker room and spread that negativity because that could do some damage, especially, you're losing games. It could get worse. It definitely could get worse if guys start, turning on each other and, pointing fingers in that. So hopefully they'll stick together regardless of what the outcome is. Obviously, we hope they can win out and make it to the playoffs and all that good stuff. But if they don't, you got to stick together because guess what?
Next year's just around the corner.
Next year right around the corner, and you still want to make sure that you're building something.
Right.
And the way you build something is you stay true to who you are. You still respect your teammates, and you push each other to get better.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good point because the pillars of this team, the captains, if you will, they're going to be here next year no matter what. So even if there are changes in the offseason, and in the NFL, you can never really control that. All you can do is control what's in front of you and playing as hard as you possibly can. So I asked you about what a player would be thinking. How are you feeling about that, knowing that the Broncos losing by one score in every game but one, the Raiders game, and being in it into the second half, multiple opportunities to either tie games, take the lead, and it's just not closing out?
Yeah, I would imagine it's the same way the coaches feel. A lot of Broncos country feels. Man, it's frustrating to watch, and it's disheartening to know that we have so many talented players. Although most of them are injured, to have so much talent on this team and so much promise, and it feels like a letdown. Because everybody was anticipating so much more, especially from the offensive side of the ball. And I'm hoping that somehow we can get some type of spark to, either make it into the playoffs this year, or if we can't do that, give us something positive to look forward to for next year.
What does that even look like, right? I mean, we keep saying that a spark,
I saw your tweet, man. Somebody got on you about that. Like, man, stop.
What about
about just the playoffs?
I did not. I said meaningful games in December. People kept hitting me like, "Are you talking playoffs right now? Playoffs?" No, I wasn't talking about playoffs. I was talking about these next two games versus teams with losing records. Broncos are one of those two. But teams with losing records, if they win those two, they're right back into the conversation of at least meaningful games in December. And that's just good for the organization. That's good for the locker room. We talked about the same thing last year. We talked about this. Hey, look, there's going to probably be changes this offseason, but it's good for the organization to be playing into December with intention, with something that they're playing for besides just spoiler. I think that's very valuable.
You're never playing for nothing. You're always playing to win and to get better because you want to have something you can look back on once the season's over and say, okay, we didn't do as well this game. We corrected A, B, and C this game. Then the next game we corrected E, F, and G. We each game we're getting better and better. But if you splinter, if guys start pointing fingers, that's not going to happen. If you give up and you start looking at, taking the war is me attitude. Oh, yeah, we're not that good. Later for all that, go out there and play your best ball. And, eventually something good is going to happen. It may not be this year, but eventually something good is going to happen.
How come you didn't come to my defense on that tweet? You could have been out there saying, Ryan's got a good point here, everybody. Listen up.
Funny, man.
I'm Hall of Famer Steve Atwater.
I thought to retweet. No.
I retweeted it.
He retweeted it.
No, you didn't.
Oh, it was a disaster.
That was funny, though. That was funny.
I was hanging in there.
I was looking to see what you did. You said, what did you say? This is my Twitter account. I can handle it however I want to do it. There you go, Ryan.
Well, I mean, it is.
Well, that's the same thing I tell people when they come criticize my Twitter account. I'm like, look, if I ever need help reducing my following from 150,000 to 25 people, I'll come look you up.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't like to usually draw that hard of a line, and I'm certainly not used to it like Ben is. But in this case, yeah, I mean.
I did warn you, when you get above 10,000 followers, the Twitter starts to suck.
Miserable. Just undeniably miserable. And I blame you because you said, hey, everybody should go follow Ryan.
You got to be honest. You're a little sensitive anyway.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Stop it. Anyways, but back to the point here about where the locker room is at. And Ben, I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, because you obviously talked to a lot of players in there. It's an interesting spot here because winning does cure all. Mm-hmm. So even snapping your losing streak against the Raiders this weekend, though impossible as that might seem to so many Broncos fans right now, considering how they played, that can change a lot of things in the locker room and change a lot of things in some of the minds of the players in there.
Yeah, I think that there's frustration that they're not getting it done. I do. That's palpable. I mean, there is frustration. There's frustration on the offensive side of the ball. Like, hey, we're out here putting the work in. We're just not getting the result, and for whatever that is. And so I think there's frustration. I think there's optimism that they can get there. I don't think anybody's given up. I haven't spoken with anybody that's given up. Even guys who had frustration, like, for instance, KJ Hamler earlier in the season, who wasn't getting the ball, and then he started getting the ball more. So I don't think anybody's given up per se, but I do think that there is a palpable frustration that, hey, look, we had 2 weeks. We got 10 points against the Titans. That's unacceptable, and they know that's unacceptable. And I think that led to some post-game locker room, we'll call it discussion. Some people call it a speech.
From Cortland, yeah.
Right, well, among others. But, yeah, and so I think that's part of the thing. I think that the leaders of this team need to step up. I think they need to fill that vacuum with, hey, here's what we need to do. Here's the next thing, and continue to, as Steve pointed out, work on A, B, C, then D, E, and F, and try to get better and get to the point where you're scoring the necessary number of points to win football games.
All right, so the question I have for both of you here, and I'll go to you first on this, So that spark, right, that you were talking about, flipping the switch. We talk about that as in it's an undefinable thing. Like it happens. We don't exactly know. Yeah. You can put a lot of hard work, and you maybe it gets there, and maybe you don't. We see teams like the Chicago Bears all of a sudden flip a switch, and all of a sudden they're scoring like 30 points per game. They just kind of figured some things out. But we know that there's more to it. So from your perspective, historically speaking, being on teams that you've been on, what is that? How do you quantify it?
Man, I think it takes confidence, and, you get confidence by going out playing hard and winning. And, we got to string together some wins, I think, to get that confidence to really feel like we
snowballs
can do
a little bit, right?
Because you want to go into games like, oh, yeah, we're going to run it up on them. And you want to have a confidence level to where you almost know it's going to happen. But until you win, until you do it a couple of times, I don't know that you have that confidence level to go into a game and say, we're going to put up 30 on you guys.
Well, it's confidence begins confidence in anything that you do, right? The first time you came and did radio, were you nervous about doing radio?
Not at all. No.
I mean, everyone. I was nervous, right? But after you do it enough times, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I got this. Now I'm gonna go put on a good show, right? And then you come out and so it's just same with anything. Like once you get winning and you get the belief in I've done this before, I've won doing this before. Now I can continue to do it.
But the Broncos offense has had confidence moments. They've had moments that you think they can build off of that confidence. The Jacksonville game is a perfect example of that, where they needed to make a drive to close out the game, and they finally did it. They went 3 for 3 in the red zone. We thought that might be a jumping off point for the offense, and instead they come out of the bye week and they're relatively flat.
And to be honest, that may not have been a good thing to have the bye right then. Because it could have been a momentum builder, but we'll never know now. If that was momentum or it was a chance for them to build momentum, or was it just it's one game or one-off game where they got that boost of energy and they were together just for that moment. It takes a minute to get on the same page and everybody be in sync, and maybe that bye week took some of that away, and you almost got to start back over. And hopefully not from the beginning, but hopefully we were much further down the road than that. But we definitely got to build our confidence up, and just knowing that we can play well and play good in intense situations, especially knowing we have so many injuries. These aren't guys who were slated to be starting, but they're out there playing, and they got to play at a high level. And, sometimes the guys rise to the occasion. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes guys, they show that, hey, this is the reason why I'm not a starter. And other times they show, man, I should have been starting all along. So we'll just see how many guys will prove their worth.
All right. Love it. For Benjamin Allbright, Steve Atwater, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.
You can stand up and salute in Denver, and you got the world champions that live in your town.